Bro, Lerone Murphy just had his coming out party against Aaron Pico, and I'm not gonna lie, for a minute there, I thought I was about to eat my words. Pico came in like a mad dog, ripping those body shots, putting Murphy on the back foot, and I was like, uh-oh, this might actually go bad. But the difference is Murphy doesn't panic. He's been in those deep waters before with guys like Edson Barboza, Dan Ige, Josh Emmett. He knows how to weather a storm. He knows how to handle the pressure. And then he flipped the script, landing a knee, and then he started finding his rhythm. And suddenly Pico's wild aggression started looking like target practice, bro. Next thing you know, boom, one of the cleanest spinning elbows you'll ever see. Pico's out cold, okay, before he even hits the floor. The crowd went crazy, and honestly, so did I. That shit was awesome. But that wasn't just a win. That was a statement because Murphy always had this weird reputation of being the smart fighter, the guy who plays it too safe to win rounds. Not the guy who shuts your lights out. But now he's got that highlight reel finish. He let the division know that he's not here to play it safe. He wants the belt, and Volk's already acknowledged it. December might be the date, and after a knockout like that, Murphy's finally earned that spotlight, which is awesome for him, man. So it looks like Lerone Murphy is the next in line. And look, man, as cool as that knockout was, we got to pump the brakes, a little bit. We got to come back to reality because people are already acting like this guy is going to take out Volkanovski. And I'm not ready to crown him just yet, okay? Because let's be honest, this is the most recency bias shit I've seen in a minute, all right? I've seen like shorts saying that, oh, Lerone Murphy's the dark horse. I'm like, bro, no one says that. No one in the UFC community says that. The fact that I saw that short, sorry, Keon, I gotta call you out. But the fact that I saw that, I was like, that's rage bait. There's just no freaking way, okay? Like, don't get me wrong. That elbow on Aaron Pico was beautiful. Cleanest highlight of his career, no doubt about it. But let's just keep it real, okay? Aaron Pico is a top 10 Bellator featherweight. Maybe even top 15 or top 20 guy if you throw him into the UFC pool. I guess that's a solid win, but it's not like he just iced Max Holloway or Diego Lopez or somebody crazy like that. I mean, the guy was still unproven in the UFC. That's my point. Now, people see that finish and immediately jump to, yo, this is the dude who's going to beat Volk. Bro, slow down. That's some casual stuff right there, all right? Listen, man, Volk's been in there with killers. The only guy who's been able to beat him is Islam Makhachev and Ilia Topuria, okay? Besides that, he beat Max 3 times, Ortega, freaking destroyed Yair Rodriguez, arguably almost beat Islam in the first fight, and just recently beat Diego Lopez. Murphy's good, but there's levels to this. But here's the problem, man. Murphy's 34 years old, and we're calling him still a prospect. That's not exactly a prime title challenger vibe, okay? And while Volk might be getting up there in age, the experience gap, in my opinion, is massive. Volk's been in 5-round wars, championship fights, defending the belt against the best of the best back to back. Murphy hasn't even touched that level yet. His best advanced win is Aaron Pico or possibly Josh Emmett. Josh Emmett isn't that good, bro. He's a gatekeeper. So yeah, I think Murphy can give Volk some tricky looks, maybe even make it competitive early with his patience and his counters. But to say he beats Volk, now that's a stretch. He hasn't proven that he can deal with that relentless pace, the wrestling threat, or the championship adjustments Volk brings. But here's the thing, man. Even though I don't think Murphy's the guy to actually take Volk's belt, I can't sit here and say he brings nothing to the table. There are a couple spots where he could make things very interesting. You gotta at least acknowledge them. First off is I love Lerone Murphy's composure. That's his superpower. Lerone doesn't panic when things get messy. That Pico fight was a fresh example. But you can even look back to the Josh Emmett fight, Emmett loading up, trying to land that overhand right, and that normally puts a lot of people to sleep. And Murphy just stayed calm, slid out of the range, kept the jab, working, and didn't even give him moments that he wanted. That's important because Volk thrives on turning fights into chaos. He'll spam feints, chop the legs, pressure forward, and wait for you to make a dumb mistake. Ortega panicked, Yair panicked, even Max had to make a big mid-fight adjustment against him. Murphy, he's the type of dude to just stand there, breathe, and stick to the plan. That's a weapon itself, you gotta be honest. Then you got the accuracy. Volk's output is insane. He throws more than 6 strikes a minute, which is why he drowns people. But the flip side is that he gets hit too. Diego Lopez landed the uppercut clean. Ortega sat him down. Islam dropped him. Max has touched him plenty of times. Volk is really not unhittable. Murphy doesn't throw a million shots, but the one that he does throw they're very crispy and clean. Think about like a sniper versus a machine gun. Volk might land 20 punches in a round. Murphy only lands like 8. But if 2 or 3 of those 8 are counters that wobble you or make judges sit up, that matters, okay? And Volk's 36 now. He's been through a ton of wars. How many more flush shots can that chin take? Let's be honest. Because we've already seen him get knocked out twice not that long ago. And the other angle people overlook is the body. Volk's defense up top is solid. Tight guard, good head movement, but he's been hit downstairs. Max invested there in their trilogy fight. Yair hurt him with a kick to the body. If Murphy decides to stab the body with a straight shot and mix in those leg kicks, he can slow Volk's consistent in and out movement down. That doesn't guarantee he wins, but it buys him more breathing room. And against Volk, breathing room is rare. And bro, don't sleep on the elbows and knees up the middle. That's Murphy's signature. The way he iced Pico, that wasn't some fluke. That's a weapon he pulled out before. And think about Volk's style, consistently drafting to range, crowding you, trying to break your rhythm. That's the exact kind of movement where intercepting a shot works the best. Diego Lopez landed knees while Volk stepped in. Ortega landed a clean counter, left hand, while Volk rushed. Murphy had those same weapons, elbows, knees, and even was patient enough to wait for those entries. That's dangerous if Volk gets too comfortable pressing forward. And then there's the wrestling layer. Volk can wrestle for sure. He can mix things up, break rhythm, grind guys down. But let's not act like he's Islam or like another high-level wrestler where he's pinning you down and riding rounds on top. He scores, he resets, he goes back to striking. Murphy showed against Pico a much more credentialed wrestler than Volk on paper. That he doesn't accept being held down. He pops right back up on his feet. If he does that against Volk, it means Alex has to keep the striking up. Alex has to keep the striking. And the longer it stays up on the feet, the more chances Murphy's has to time one of those clean counters. So yeah, I still think it's a stretch to say Murphy takes out Volkanovski, but I get why people are buzzing about him. He's calm where most guys crack. He's efficient where most guys get reckless. And he's got some sneaky weapons that punish the exact kind of forward pressure that Volk lives on. If nothing else, you can say Murphy has a path. A slim one, but it's there. And for a guy who's just got his big coming out party, that's more than the most Volk's challengers can claim. But here is where we get real, man. As much as Murphy earned his flowers, this is Alex Volkanovski we're talking about. And that's where the hype train has to slow down, because Volk isn't just another name in the rankings. He's the standard that every featherweight has to pass. And so far, Ilia Topuria is the only one. But besides that, nobody else has been able to beat him in featherweight. Now, one of the reasons why I think Volk schools this guy is the pace and the gas tank are just different. Volk doesn't fight in rounds. He fights in an engine. He doesn't slow down. He doesn't coast. He doesn't let you breathe. Ask Max Holloway. Max is a dude who outpaces everybody. The cardio machine, the volume king, and even he had to admit Volk's activity forced him to adjust. That's how relentless this man is. And Murphy, he's never seen anything like that. He's calm, he's patient, but what happens when it's round 4 and Volk is still feigning, chopping your legs, still bouncing in and out? Lerone Murphy has never got to deal with that for 25 minutes. Somebody who's just coming and like nonstop with really good footwork, coming in and out fast, and just very good volume boxer. He hasn't faced that yet. Then there's the wrestling and clinch game. Volk is not Islam. He's not going to blanket you and ride out 10 minutes on top. But what he does do is that he's just deadly over time. He drags you down, makes you scramble back up, knees you in the clinch, stomps on your foot, drags you again. It's a death by 1,000 cuts. Murphy showed against Pico that he won't accept being held down. But again, that was one burst in 3-round fights. Volk does this for over 5 rounds, mixing in the strikings, chopping your legs down. And here's a sneaky point people forget. The leg kicks. Against Max, Volk threw 75 of them in just one fight. 75. That's not volume just to score. That's a strategy to shut your base down. Once your legs are gone, your movement is gone, and Murphy's whole game is built around being patient, planting his feet, and timing you. If you take away the leg, you take away his foundation. That's the kind of subtle weapon that Volk brings to Murphy. That's the kind of subtle weapon that Volk brings that Murphy hasn't dealt with yet. And sure, yeah, Murphy has been in 5 rounds fights before, but let's be real. 5 rounds with Josh Emmett is not the same thing as 5 rounds with Alex Volkanovski. No disrespect to Emmett. The guy hits like a truck, but his game is one-dimensional. It's overhand right, maybe a left hook, and that's about it. The guy just has power. And if you don't get clipped, you can outpoint him. That's what Murphy did. He stayed disciplined, jabbed, circle, and banked the rounds. Good win, but that's not a world title fight. Volk is a different kind of storm. He doesn't give you one look, he gives you 10. And then he rotates them nonstop. 1 second it's a leg kick, next second he's faking a level change, and then he's clinching, dirty boxing, breaking off with combos, chopping your calves again. And he does that for 25 minutes without slowing down. That's not just cardio. That's weaponized cardio, okay? Murphy has never had to deal with that. And that's where the gap is. And here's another thing. Volk got that mid-fight download, okay? Like, you can have success early, but by round 3 or 4, Volk makes the reads. Think about the Max fight. You know, their second fight. Max looked amazing early. He dropped Volk, sharp combinations, and by the end of the fight, Volk had completely flipped it. You know, he figured it out, the timing, and stole those later rounds. That's the scary part, okay? You don't have to just beat him early. You have to stay ahead of him all night, and nobody's done it. Also, let's be honest about Murphy finishing power, okay? Outside of the Pico elbow, he hasn't shown a one-shot finish in the UFC in some time. I think he has another finish if I'm not mistaken. Most of his fights in recent memory go the distance. Volk has been cracked by Max, Ortega, Islam in the first fight, Lopez, some of the heaviest hitters or cleanest strikers at 145 and 155, and he's still standing every time, except that one time with Ilya Taporia, but he's an exception because he's just different. But betting on Murphy to land a single nuke, that's a long shot. Meanwhile, Volk's output and pace means he doesn't need the knockout. He can drown you with the volume and break you down piece by piece. So here's how I see it playing out, man. The fight probably starts out slow. Murphy's being patient, like he always is. He's not going to charge at Volk like Yair or Ortega did. He's going to sit back, try to time him, maybe sneak in the jab, maybe check in some leg kicks early, and honestly, he might even land a nice counter. Volk has been tagged before, so don't be shocked if Murphy clipped him once or twice and made people go, oh, you know. But here's the difference. Volk doesn't get flustered. If anything, he uses those moments as download, okay? He'll eat a clean shot, nod his head, then come back with 3 different looks to shut that weapon down. And once Volk figures out the range, that's when the tides start turning. I can already see Volk mixing it up, chopping away at Murphy's lead leg, clinching him up to the fence, making him work harder than he wants to. That's what breaks patient counter-strikers. You don't give them clean reads, you smother them with activity. By the second half of the fight, Murphy's not calmly waiting anymore, he's reacting, he's second-guessing everything, and that's exactly where Volk turns it up. And I think it becomes one of those fights where the first 5 or 6 minutes feels competitive. You know, you might even have a fan tweeting, yo, Murphy is looking sharp, but then Volk's pace and variety just starts piling up. Lead leg kicks, the jab in the face, short takedowns, keeping him guessing, and suddenly, Murphy's composure is starting to crack. He's too tough to get iced with one punch, but this is where Volk's attrition game shines. If Murphy slows down just a little, Volk smells blood. We've seen him do it before against Ortega. Once he survived, he poured it on. Against Yair, once the kick slowed down, he mauled him. Against Max, once the reads were made, he pulled away. Murphy is no different. I honestly believe by the championship rounds, Volk is walking him down, picking him apart, and honestly, we might even be looking at a late TKO. Like Murphy just stuck on the fence, getting touched up with combos, lead leg, body shots, right hands, and the ref's gonna step in. But even if it goes the distance, the story feels the same. Murphy has the moments. Volk owns the fight, in my opinion. It's the championship pace, the champion IQ, the champ's grit that carries it. And that's why at the end of the night, Volk's hand's gonna get raised. For what he is, he's gonna look nice in Volk's resume, let's just be honest. But those are just my thoughts. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed the video, please leave a like. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And like always, guys, I'll see you guys on my next one.